right, welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's next Super Stock live stream, where we bring you those companies, those stocks, which are going after massive multi-billion-dollar market opportunities, have multiple catalysts, and are at a key inflection point with 10x to 100x upside potential. We've had a number of 10-bagger stocks in recent years, and we're going to find out if CXAI is going to be the next one to join them. With that said, Khurram, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Jack. Great to see you again.
Absolutely. So, Khurram, CXAI, is, I think people are starting to kind of figure out that the company is becoming an important player in the AI space. Leading the workplace transformation, which I think it was Gartner that said it's like $100 billion opportunity. Recently the stock has been trading, I don't know, all of a sudden out of the blue, it's been trading millions and millions of shares of volume, a crazy volume the last week. So I think people are, the stock is finally coming onto the radar of investors. But what I see as the opportunity, and this is what we're going to get into in this live stream, what I see as the opportunity for investors is that, most investors right now, like all this trading volume we've seen, they don't really understand what CXAI does. Because if they did, the stock would be trading at a real multiple in line with its peers. Like right now, you're trading at a 2x revenues, basically. Whereas if people really valued you as a proper AI company, you'd be trading at 10x, 20x, or more. I'm not even getting into the crazy, 50x, 100. We're not getting into those, but 10x, which is like a typical comp. So there's a massive upside in the stock just from that. So with that said, Khurram, for people who are new to the story, if you can just start off with exactly what does CXAI do for your clients?
Thanks, Jack. And yeah, we like to call it Sky, CXAI for short, so I'll use the Sky term a lot. But Sky is built on some fundamental solutions to a real problem. And the real problem is employee experiences, right? And it started with the pandemic, where employees could not figure out when they want to go back to the office, how they operate in the office. It started with that places or spaces problem, right? How do I make sure that I have a desk? How do I make sure I can reserve rooms and locations? But it became a bigger problem in terms of not only the people, but the places, but the people. Like, how do I actually collaborate? How do I communicate with my colleagues? How do I be more productive in the workplace? And how do I feel like I am getting the mentorship and all of us grew up in the old world of workplace, where you got to the office every day, you spend 5 days a week. Well, there's no more 5 days a week. It's hybrid. It's 3 days to 4 days. And it's getting more and more in the office, but there's people that are always going to be remote. So really solving that employee engagement problem. And finally, we all live in technology, right? The technology is changing dramatically, and the workforce, the new workforce, which I believe is my kids and their peers, are all into using apps and using devices, and then using agentic platforms, because AI has become more and more pervasive. So when you combine it all together, I think there's a unique need for something that solves the problem of that employee engagement experiences. We started early. We were the pioneers of the mobile app industry in this space, pioneers of bringing a cloud, and now we're pioneering with AI. So we have great clients. We got Fortune 500 clients that are in different verticals, from financial services to healthcare to consumer to retail to entertainment. And we're very proud of those customers who've stayed with us for so many years and now continue to, I think we did a press release at the end of the year where 5 major enterprise clients renewed. And these are multi-year renewals. These are commitments from them for scaling up, because they really have found the value of the app and the platform. So I got to use the word platform now, because really it started with the app. Then it became, I want to know the analytics. I want to know what's going on. And now it's about, I want to do role-based access control. I want to actually enable things. So now we've got a full platform called the Sky platform, CXI platform, that has mobile and web apps, has analytics and data insights, and then has the what I call the rule engine, or the brains behind it, the BTS. So all the 3 components are being deployed with all our clients, and they're scaling globally. So I'm super excited about getting those clients to the next level. But the other story that I think is very interesting is, and that's why we've been super busy at the start of the year, is I think we see the momentum coming from the demand, because now these clients who were doing pilots or experiments are now saying, no, 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 this is production, right? This is large scale deployment. We're talking about RFPs that are 50 to 100 pages that talk about all the things that happen at the workplace. They want to automate it all, right? And who better to automate with than us, right? So we are kind of the leading provider, the leading technology enabler in this space. And I think, I'm super excited that at the start of the year, we're going to be super busy with a lot of new projects, a lot of new opportunities to scale up. And I think in parallel, AI is transforming every industry, right? So there's no question now that AI is transformative. Now the question, you see in the press today, there's been a little bit of, worries about AI infrastructure and how the cost have gone up, but the returns are not there. In our space, in the application space or in the end user space, it's really about impact. What value do we provide? And they're not going to go, put a certain application or platform to their employees unless they see real value, right? So this is not an infrastructure play; it's really an application play.
Yeah. So I think this is a very important thing. I think the big takeaway, which is becoming apparent, is that Sky. I'm going to keep calling it CXAI because people need to know the stocks. CXAI. This is becoming a must-have for these Fortune 500 large enterprise clients. And I think, look, I think anybody who works in these larger companies, again, some of your clients, if they go to the website, they can see the logo is there. I know these companies, they don't like to have their names included in press releases. It's always a hassle. Every time you're dealing with these large companies, it's always a hassle. They never let you use it. But if people go to your website, they can actually see who's using your platform. Adobe, I think T. Rowe Price, Warner Brothers, major companies. Okay, major companies are using it. It's also becoming very big in the entertainment media business. So we have these large canvases. So there's a massive applications for these global companies. But I think the takeaway is this, right? Look, the bottom line is this. Last month, and I thought it was a big deal. Maybe the market didn't understand how big of a deal it is. Because, you were early in the space. I mean, we all know that, you were a little bit early. It was a new thing. It took a while for people to say, but now they see it. These companies, they're renewing. You announced 5 renewals in December, right? These are these are big companies. They're all trying to, cut costs, improve productivity. So the fact that they're re-signing with you, renewing is a major validation. It's like real. It's not like Gartner saying, "Oh, this is a massive market." No, this is like real world. Where the rubber meets the road, where people have to write checks, and they're writing checks to Sky, to CXAI, and we're seeing just the early. We're still in the very early stages, because now it's like the rocket it hasn't even left the launch pad yet. I mean, the ignition just came on. I see this as like, if to use a metaphor, the ignition came on. We're seeing the flames, but the rocket is still, just an inch. It hasn't even lifted off the launch pad yet. I think the flywheel is going to start as, all these companies. They all basically they want to see what everybody else is doing. Then they all jump on. What's the old expression? I don't know. This might be this is what was the old expression? Nobody ever got fired for buying IBM. Do you remember that expression? That was like, people, because these big companies, they're very conservative, but once they see somebody else doing it, now they can say, okay, well, Adobe did this, so we can do it now. It makes it safe, and you're going to have this more and more momentum. So
to that point, we see a lot of competition. So this is a space, and this is where the market validation is, because we're not the only ones. There's lots of people trying to be in this space. The big boys are in there as well. As you can imagine, all of these companies have large companies, whether it's Microsoft or Google or Amazon. All these guys are their partners, right? There are partners too in terms of cloud, but in terms of products, they may have some potentially competing products, or they have a lot of capability to provide functionality. The reason they come to us is because they don't meet their needs, and this is not a small feat, because it's one thing to create, a product that works and it works really well. It's one thing to actually integrate into the enterprise architecture of these clients, right? These are big behemoths. They have huge governance requirements. They have huge security requirements. They have lots of requirements, right? And so to meet that, they want enterprise grade quality. So they're expecting the same level of service from Sky as they would expect from Microsoft or Google, right? Because they're saying you are now part of my architecture. You are an extension of my. So we go through extensive security credential and testing. They call it pen testing, which is penetration testing, to make sure it's secure. We go through a lot of testing in terms of the workflows and the single sign-on, so it's secure. Nobody else can enter it. So it's not just building the best-in-class, employee experience platform. It's actually how do you make sure that it integrates with those clients, and that takes a lot of effort and time. We work with their CIO teams. We work with their partners inside the company. So it's a lot of effort, right? It is not a small feat to get it there. But once you're there, as you can imagine, then you're there for a long time, right? Because they are not going to put the same effort with every single vendor to do it, right? And so that's, I think, that the stickiness, and that's why the renewals are happening, a combination of the fact they bring value, but more importantly, we are part of their architecture. We're part of their fabric. We're not going anywhere. And so what our opportunity now is to now scale with them. We kind of got the landing, to your analogy, we're the landing base now, right? We got in the door, okay? We're there. Now, where else can we go? So now we're working on different use cases with agentic AI to say, how can I improve the experience in different dimensions, whether it's communications, whether it's HR, whether it's IT ticketing. I mean, there's so many different things we can do with them, right? So many different capabilities, but we're in the door now. We're inside the home. We're part of their home, and now we can build whatever we want inside. So I think that's the analogy I would say. And then to your point, when somebody sees it, they're like, okay, you guys are doing with them, I got to be on with you. So every single RFP we respond to, the biggest question, who else is doing this? And we say, here's the guy right next door to you. They're right there. And they call him up and say, hey, yeah, you doing well? Yeah, absolutely. So what's holding it back, honestly, is the timing, is because these are large, complicated organizations that take time to make decisions, right? They don't make decisions on a weekly basis. They have, formal RFP process. They have, negotiation. And think about a company our size is negotiating multi-service agreements for multi-year contracts with companies that are 100 billion plus valuation, right? I mean, a company like our size to do that. So they don't do that with everybody, right? They don't go and just they would have hired a third party and say, go work with CXAI. No, they want to work with us directly. So I think that I see is a great opportunity. I think we're very proud of the team, the progress we made. But I can tell you right now, I see a lot more capability from our team to help with all of these companies, and they're looking at us to help them, right? So it's not one of those traditional vendor supplier relationship. Just give me the product and I'll go shop it around and see what the cheapest price is. It's really about a partnership to say, can you actually solve my problem? Because you are part of my team now to help me solve the problem. And the problem is space is an issue still at these large locations. People, engagement is an issue, and technology is an issue. We want to simplify all of that with Sky. Sky becomes this platform that makes it easy to work, that makes it productive to work, that makes it simple and easy for the enterprise to connect with their employees and for employees to feel like they're enabled, right? I mean, think about the guy, first day on the job, okay? What do? You're going to be lost. You don't know where to go. You don't know who to talk to. You have no clue. You spend the first few weeks trying to figure out, what am I going to do and who am I going to meet with, right? With Sky, one of our clients has done this pre-boarding app where basically before day one, you already have been opened up to the campuses that you're going to go to. You know the workflows, you know the systems. You're given limited access till you actually become the employee. But day one, you know where to park. You know where the front desk is. You know who your manager is. You know who the people are. You feel like you're welcome in the community. So they find that to be super important because think about it. When you hire a new employee, you're making an investment. You want that first day experience to be amazing, right? So those are the kind of things that it started off with other things they want to do, like food ordering, others. But now this has become a must-have, right? When they open a new employee, they have that. And they're under pressure with us, Khurram and team. You better be ready because we're hiring new employees. It's starting February 1.
I think it's also, yeah, I think it's also a big deal, with younger employees. What is it, like the Gen Z or whatever it is? They're much more demanding. They really, it's you know it's they're really much more demanding. They want everything like perfect, and yeah, so they have much higher standards.
Yeah.
You can't just put them in a desk, like but it's the much higher. So this is actually so here's the thing. So there's so we'll go into the real values the real value that your clients are getting and the ROI, because there's a real reason. Again, we're saying this is becoming a real must-have for these major enterprises. So one of the things I was kind of going through the math. Again, like what's driving this? We're seeing this growing adoption. So again, the opportunity for investors is the stock is at the inflection point now, right? I always see this where, I've always talked about this where a lot of times, investors get into a stock a little bit too early. The company might have been too early. The stock crashes. By the time the stock is at the bottom, everybody has given up on it. But the reality is their business is just now starting to hit that inflection point where now the product market fit is there. Everybody finally understands what they do. Also, the sales pipeline momentum is there because your sales pipeline, I mean, you were doing this for a number of years. It's a long sales cycle. So right now, that pipeline is we're going to start, I think, seeing momentum because you've had a growing pipeline for the last, I don't know, 18 months or whatever it is. We're going to, I think, start seeing things coming out of that pipeline now, plus the re-signs and all that stuff. But I think the takeaway is this, right? You talk about like the companies bring on these new employees. So your platform goes for, I think the price you mentioned is high 6 figures to 7 figures per year, roughly, for annually.
Yeah, it depends on the customer and number of campuses and functionalities, but yeah, that's probably consistent what you said. Yeah.
Okay, so again, this is for companies that have 10,000 employees plus. It's a massive $100 billion opportunity. So companies with 10,000 employees plus, right? So this really works out. I mean, I just went through this. Let's call it $50 an employee, maybe even less a year, not a month, a year, right? And if you're improving their productivity, okay, by if they can just save a few hours. These are not like sweatshop employees making sneakers for Nike, right? These are highly paid people, right? A lot of these people are making 6 figures plus, right? And if you can help them save just a few hours, maybe even 1 hour a year, the product more than pays for itself. And then on top of that, extremely important is and this is what I want to address, is improving that workplace experience, which the happier the employee is, the more productive they are, right? There's a lot of it is, there's two aspects. One is you make the employee workplace experience, their daily productivity. And I think maybe you'll go into the granularity of the different things, but all those things add up. So for these companies, it's a no-brainer decision. And again, they're seeing their peers are doing it, their competitors are doing it. It's like they're going to have to do this. It's almost like, let's use in a metaphor of, I don't know, not having internet or something. I mean, this is going to be as essential as you name. I mean, whatever app there is in the enterprise. By the way, we're going to be getting to audience questions, guys. Get your questions ready because I think we're going to have a great opportunity for Coram. You'll answer some audience questions, in about 5 minutes or so. We'll wrap up, but I want to address that because I think you started touching it. But from the real world experience, like, tell us about like the everyday workplace experience for employees. What are the benefits that they get out of it? And like, so we could, and how does the ROI work? Because it seems very clear. I think like I kind of gave it like a top line view, but maybe you can talk about some case studies. I know Gartner has done some work. You've had a bunch of like maybe you could address some of those things.
Well, let me start with the employee, and then I'll talk about the customers who are the employers, right? They're the ones who are buying the software and the capability. But from an employee standpoint, Sky is like their, and by the way, when they use it, it is in their, kind of jargon of their app, right? So Warner Bros. Has their own app, and Adobe has their own and others. So it's not Sky as such, it's powered by Sky, but it is Adobe Life powered by Sky, or Red Carpet Club powered by Sky, right? And so when you're, one of those employees, your life is basically made easy. Your work life is made so simple and easy. You wake up in the morning or the night before, you just organize your life. You say, okay, I'm going to meet with Jack in the morning. I need a meeting room there. I need a desk over there. I'm going to have a parking spot. I need lunch with a few of my team members, and then I got to get prepared for this event. So I got to have quiet areas. So I need this. So, you can just tell Sky, here's my wish list, and it'll make it happen, right? You don't have to. Now, we have both mechanisms. The existing solution is a little bit human created. It's always human created, but it goes through the workflows. But now we're automating that whole process. So when you wake up and go to the office, all of that is already scheduled and working for you, and it checks you in automatically, right? Like, because what if something changed? Well, I didn't show up to the office. Well, it will check out that room because somebody else can use it, right? So when you think of that experience, it's about being your executive assistant and your guide, your trusted advisor with you, right? So those are the things that people are using them for every single day, because we just had a customer got a new site opened up in Silicon Valley, right? All of a sudden, all these people show up. Thousands of people are showing up and want to make sure they all have space. And they need to have that visibility up front, and they need to have that awareness, and then they need to make sure that they do get it, because if I booked it, I want to make sure when I get there, it's there for me, right? It hasn't been released out. So checking in is important, right? So those are simple functions, it seems like. And then the next thing is ordering food. Always becomes an issue of, am I going to get the food on schedule? I've got this meeting coming up. It's all automated through our process, right? Just one click away, you can order your food. One click away, you can order your locker. One click away to do all these functions.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is it makes the employees day to day, their job easier. It makes their day easier.
Well, the thing is, we call it in the productivity gain is you would be spending hours or 30 minutes maybe on booking this or that. It takes 30 seconds now, right? So now you've got that time to do more productive things, right? You don't have to spend all your time in trying to coordinate and schedule stuff, right? That's one part of it. The other part of it is, well, it becomes an area to see what is happening around me, situational awareness. Here's a map. These campuses are huge places. They're like mini cities. You don't know what's happening on the other side. Maybe there's an event going on, and maybe you were there for a meeting, and all of a sudden you get a notification. Hey, by the way, there's a session starting on product development next door. You want to attend that? So it gives you that notification. So it schedules. It gives you context. It gives you notification, but then it also makes you make decisions better, right? Where am I going to spend my time where, right? And then the colleague booking is a very interesting feature that's come in to say, well, who's in the office? If I'm going there, I'm not going to meet. And to me, that's important in terms of knowing, the boss is in the office, if you want to be when the boss is there, or more importantly, you want to be mentored and you want to find out, you want to learn about something, you want to connect with folks, because not everybody's there in the office every day. So all these things.
That's a big deal. That's actually very
And by the way, our customers also some of them want the pictures of those folks. Like, who are these people? I want to see who they are. I want to know where they're at. I want to give, and you naturally have privacy control and all this stuff. You have to open it up. Right. But think about, you come to an office with thousands of people, right? And you want to meet the 5 people that are working on project A, something that's specific to that. Where are those people? How can I connect with them? If you're a visiting employee, that's another thing, right? So this is all about creating those things. You used to call it the water cooler moments, right? When you go to an office, you sit at the water cooler and you decided, you kind of debated or learned about things. Now we're creating our own things.
All the big things start at the water cooler. It sounds very it's very basic. It's just basic human nature, and this is essentially. It's almost. What you have is kind of almost like I don't want to say it's a Facebook or social thing for these companies, but it kind of is in a certain way. It is, but those things are very important.
We have a lot of digital assistants and all this stuff, but at the end of the day, we believe that innovation happens through collaboration and engagement. And right now, the data is very clear. Engagement levels at large companies or any companies are very low. We're in the 25%, right? To be productive as an organization, you need to be at 70% plus. So we think our capability is essential to providing that employee engagement, to providing that connection, providing the visibility, but then the opportunity, right? And so I think that there's a lot of great things that we're doing, and there are more as we deploy. and scale, the more things we find out, because it's a learning process, right? You go deploy this thing, then you say, oh, what about this? What about this? And so we're finding a lot of interesting use cases, just location awareness, right? I mean, in December, I think we had in California, like where I live, we had like 50 earthquakes in a month, right? And when an earthquake happened, one of them happened when I was in the office, and the building is shaking, and people are scared, right? Where am I? With our solution, you have emergency notification. You can just push a button and say, I am here. So then everybody knows, oh, he's safe, he's over there, or he's in this room. Little things like that we think, but when it happens, it's a big emergency, right? Yeah. And so emergency notifications, weather notification. We've got this big snowstorm happening on the East Coast now. Are people going to go to the office? Are they going to not go? Should I go? Should I not go? When do I get a notification? Okay, I got to go check out weather maps, and then I got to check out the office. Why don't we just from the office just say, hey guys, today you don't need to go anywhere. You just stay at home. It's fine, right? And so those are the things, the simple things that we do, but are very, very powerful, right? And so the platform is ready. The platform, I think, and that's what we're very proud that this last year we completed the full platform. It's called Sky 2.0. It's now being available to all our clients. You're going to see some releases on that, product releases soon, that will talk about what it is. But we have a single code-based solution that integrates end-to-end workflows, end-to-end experiences, and then let the customer innovate themselves, meaning that when we provide that platform, I just meant the emergency notifications, one of the clients that wanted it was for shooter alert, right? But you can use it for shooter alert, you can use it for earthquake, notification, you can use it for weather, you can use it for any number of things, but the capability is the important part. The platform capability is there. And now with, another one that we're very proud of is rule-based access control. Like, who has access to certain functions and facilities at the office, right? Do you have to put a sign out there, hey, Jack, you can go into this room, you can't go here? No. Digitally, we enable that to say, you know what, this space is for operation. Nobody else can book this space, right? This space is for marketing department. That's their, right up there. Who can see the analytics for that data? It's only the COO, not anybody else, right? So rule-based access control, rule-based analytics, all of these things are very sophisticated technical capabilities that we've enabled, but they're for a reason. They're not just like, oh, it's a nice to have. This is a must-have, right? So when we read these RFPs, these are all must-haves. So we are clicking off all these must-haves, and I think it's just a matter of time when adoption happens faster. That's what we're hoping for, that this is the year that the adoption starts happening because people have already seen these use cases. Now it's a matter of getting other people on the same platform. So I think that's a big win for us. And then lastly, I would say the other reason why people are being with us and want to continue with us is because of our agentic AI roadmap. Agentic AI has become essential. It is no longer, oh, it'll be nice to see an agentic demo. That was a year ago, right? Now we're going from pilots, prototypes to now production, right? All of the RFPs that we're responding to, all of the customers that we are working with, all have agentic AI roadmap, and it's actually been driven by us. We have been the most vocal in the market. We've been working with Gartner as well, and I was telling you earlier, Gartner is going to have a magic quadrant on this space too, which is another validation. This is not a nice to have kind of, application platform. This is a must have for all these clients. That's why Gartner is making it a full magic quadrant. That's going to be coming out here in the early part of this year. And we've been working very closely with them because, as you know, we've been the technology innovators in this space. And now it's not about technology innovation, it's about market adoption. And market need is there. And we think that with agentic AI, we're going to supercharge all these experiences to the next level and automate all these functions. And, this automation leads to autonomy, leads to, much better productivity gains, much lower cost. It actually improves the experience to the next level, where we believe that this will become, like you mentioned, a must-have, right? This is no longer a nice-to-have. So this is the year I feel like enterprise AI is going, and Gartner's already said that all enterprise apps are going to have agentic AI. And then the future of apps may also be under threat because agentic AI doesn't mean it's an app. It could be an interface. It could be a QR code. It could be anything that lives on a device. So from our perspective, we're really focused on that roadmap as well, because we believe that, in the coming year here, 2026, there's going to be rapid adoption of agentic AI.
So that's okay. So that's the key point, right? Like, the what everybody's looking for, right, is that hockey stick, growth curve, right? They want to be where it goes to the stick, right? Right now, the company has been still in that when the bottom part of the hockey stick. How close are we to that tipping point where it starts going parabolic? Because you look, what retail investors, they have no patience, right? They need to see, 10x growth immediately, right? So, or if not, or at least something close. So before we get into like when can you scale, but let's address the market opportunity you're going after. So, how big is the market? Is the actual real market opportunity? Again, you've touched only so far a very small, portion of the market. So, how big is this? Is the addressable market? Because I don't think a lot of people really understand, like, because you're going after a specific set of companies. These are 10,000 employees plus. So, how big is the market?
Well, I think I think just the market overall enterprise is in the hundreds of billions. But to your point, we're really being focused on the Fortune 500, which are very large clients, but they take a long time to adopt, and but they're great clients of ours. I think the bigger opportunity at this problem is not just for companies that are 10,000. It's also a problem for companies that have 500 employees or 1,000 employees, right? So that's the other push we're going to start doing this year as this agentic platform is ready, is to go after the mid-market. And the mid-market is a much larger market. It's much easier in terms of the technical requirements, but it is, very large and fragmented, right? So we have
how big is that middle market? What would you?
That's another 100 billion, I would say, right? Because that's like talking about every single 50-person, 100-person startup to like somebody who's got a couple of offices in a city or others. I mean, the issue is this is not just about space, it's about people, right? And when you think about people and their engagement, but they are probably looking for a different price point of the product, right, as well, right? They're not looking for paying $1 million for their experiences, right? But I think with our solutions, very scalable with agentic AI, right? It can scale very easily from tens of thousands to others, but we want to make it self-deployable. We want to make it very easy to deploy, right? Today with these large clients, you have to go through a lot of governance and controls, and you got to go through, their CIO office to get adoption. There's a lot of gates there to do that, which is for good reason for them. But if I'm, a small enterprise, I just want to, download off Google Marketplace or something, right? Or I just want to get something that's a web app that I can just put it onto my device and I go in and, I don't have to go through the same controls.
Okay, so when is that going to launch?
Well, that is something where we're planning in the second half of this year, to be launching, right? Because to us, we've got so much opportunity with the large clients that we're focused on them and delivering on them, and that's our priority right now. But we are, as you said, we're going to be launching the products for the agentic AI, and for both the large and the mid-market, right? So both markets we're going to be focused on, but we're designing this agentic AI solution to be scalable, right? It will work for the 50-person company, it'll work for the 50,000-person company too, right? It just depends on the number of integrations they want and other things. But we want to make it fast and snappy, easy to use, easy to deploy, and I see bigger opportunities beyond the workplace market with that product, because the way we're building the agentic, and we're going to do a demo for this in the coming weeks here, when we maybe in a couple of months we'll do the demo for you, because we are now piloting it in our labs, we're testing it, and then we're going to, all our clients are wanting it, right? It's huge demand for that prototype, right? So we're building those MVPs, and then we'll be launching that in second half. So
right, again, like one of the things you talked about a couple of times about is, again, this issue of engagement. That's been like the buzzword for the last 5 years. Is every company has had problems with employee engagement, right? And you had these things. What is it? Quiet quitting. You had all these things where people are they're just they're not engaged or whatever it is. So basically, this is a product that delivers essentially employee engagement, which is actually, it's a huge deal. I mean, look, if somebody is getting paid, let's call it 75 grand a year, right? 75 grand a year. and they're
Yep.
not really that engaged, right? You're only getting, you might be getting, 50 grand worth
Yep.
of value, So with this, for a $50 investment, you're getting $100,000 worth of upside,
Yep.
or more, actually. I think more in productivity. So I think it's going to be a big deal if you can start doing this for the small to medium sized businesses, because that,
Yep.
50 to 100 employees, or that size, that would be that's really that's like an untapped market.
Yep.
How much, you have a price? You have an idea of pricing, like how much that would be, like per seat, or would that
No,
work?
I think we'll stick with the same model, but I think it actually will be more per user per month than we do for the large clients, right? Because I think those experiences will be very tailored for those customers, right? And
Mm,
I think the other interesting inflection point, Jack, is happening is we're going from the SaaS model to the AI consumption model, right? So in some ways there'll be a base price for SaaS, which is the per seat traditional model that we have, right? But I think the reality is there'll be some heavy users, consumers that use it, that consume it more because it's their function to consume it. Like, think about
mm,
somebody who's looking at the analytics and data and wants to see it. Well, they're going to pay more. Or somebody who's actually, using more functions and capabilities, because that's part of the model, is the value that it creates. It's just not a single model of pricing. It'll have a combination of, per seat pricing, but it'll also have consumption-based pricing. I mean, I think all the indicators are that people not going to pay $40 a month. Microsoft Copilot hasn't really taken off because of that. So this is where we're not in that model of like, well, let's charge them 10x of what we charge them today for AI. I think AI has to be value-based, right? If you're seeing the outcomes that make sense, it's outcome-based pricing, right? If it's going to help me, find my next mentor, it's worth it, right? But if it's just going to show me a bunch of screens and not get the outcome, then I'm not interested, right? If it's going to give me the recommendations that will help me choose the right restaurant every time, or the place I want to go to, or the rooms I'm going to, so the value also has to be on the outcomes, right? And I think we're very focused on outcome-based models here. I think that's, and then on the analytics for sure, which I think last time I told you that a lot of our, the enterprise side looks at all this and says, okay, what are the insights we're getting? What are the things that we're getting that we as an organization can be better in terms of space planning, better in terms of coordination, better in terms of scheduling, better in terms of just, employee experience. How do I manage an event? How do I make a successful event? The data speaks for itself, right? It shows the usage, it shows the traction. So those data sets they're using every single day. And I think at the C levels and executive level, they want those dashboards. They want to create their own dashboards. They want to ask a question, get an answer. And so the more usage we have on the platform, the more data sets we have. And by the way, we integrate all these other third-party data sets, right? Whether it's a sensor or it's a HID badge, or if it's a locker, we collect all the data and then provide that to the end user. And that's where I think the biggest value will come in, is that it unlocks a lot of insights that they would have to hire an Accenture or somebody else and pay them, or McKinsey, pay them millions of dollars to do a project study, which will take 6 months.
right.
Here, it's right there in front of you. You get a live feed, you get the right data, and you can
Yeah,
slice and
that
dice
stuff
it.
is yeah, that's a big deal for these companies. Okay, let's get to some audience questions. Actually, this kind of, I guess, follows up on what we've been
Yep.
speaking about. Is okay. So Thomas is asking, what specific metrics have Fortune 1000 companies achieved in optimizing office space utilization using your platform?
That's a great question, right? So when we think about space, right, in general, right? So one of the things is just simple cost reduction, right? Like, I got so much square footage. If I have 200 employees in the building, right, how many actually come there? So I can decide to say, I can figure out based on the data how much actual usage is happening. And then I can optimize to say, I only need X thousand square feet versus, so that could be a 50% reduction, right? So first is direct cost reduction, less wasted space. Second is less unused capacity, right? The fact that, I've got 50 conference rooms and, 25 I use 100%, but the rest I use 20%. Well, I don't need to have 50 conference rooms. I can have 40 or 30, right? And that means less IT equipment and less things around it. So it's direct cost reduction, right? And then those also relate to operational overhead. Well, how many people are managing these sites, and how do I need all these people? So how do I justify? So the whole P&L from the the real estate officer, we call the SVP of real estate, they're the owners of that, right? So for them, this is direct kind of cost reduction, right? The other part is the manual processes and the support and all these other things. So there's a lot of impact. Some of our clients have told me stories where they decided not to renew a lease because they didn't need it, or they didn't have to build a new building to accommodate for space. So I think it has real operational value in terms of the space, because I think, when you look at their P&L, space is one of the key important, the cost of real estate is very important to them, right? So to me, those are the high-level metrics. I think the other part that is a little bit qualitative is reimagining the space, right? Because you got all the space, and sometimes you just can't get less because you're on a lease or something. What else can I do with the space, right? So instead of wasting the space on empty areas, a lot of them are transforming them to now event spaces. So we're seeing a lot of people saying, hey, I don't need to have the sales conference at the Marriott. I got so much space here. Why don't I create a little event area here, right? So reimagine the space, get it to be more productive, more open spaces. So there's that part as well. Which is very interesting. And that creates a new opportunity for us, because now they're all asking for an event module. Like one of our clients, it was amazing to hear that. They have, Jack, 10,000 employees, but guess how many events they host in a year, internal events? 10,000. They have 10,000 events a year. Think about how many do they do a day? And this is, they have 5 or 6 sites, they have all these things, but they're hosting little events. Maybe a conference for they have visitors coming in that are executives that need to host an event for them, or there's an event for a small team coming together. So the point is they're hosting lots of events, right? Some with their customers, some internal, others. And so they're saying, besides providing this platform, should have event management in it for us, because we host all of it. You gotta order the food, you gotta the AV system, you gotta make all this thing work, right? So when we think about this space, this has got a real impact to their business, right? Because if those events don't happen well, so we're getting a lot of interest in events at these spaces. So that's the other part that I see is, if they can reduce the space to a certain level, but once they have a space, what do I do most effective with there?
Yeah. Okay. Next question. We got actually a few questions. NASDAQ compliance. How will you reach compliance with NASDAQ? What, to get over $1, I guess?
Yeah, look, we have till March 10th. NASDAQ had given us that capability. We are, as you know, working very hard in terms of our investor relations, as well as a combination of efforts to make sure that we can reach that. According to the rules, we do have another 6-month extension beyond that. We go to September, but my goal is to really, get it there by March. I think it will be a combination of our results and our outreach to our investor base, as well as making sure we have the capability to demonstrate, our new products and capabilities. So we're very focused on that. We're focused on investor outreach. That's why, Jack, you're helping us with IR efforts. But we are very focused as a team. Our board is very focused on it, and we take it very seriously. And we're very confident that, like Jack said, that because of our customer base, our revenue base, our roadmap, I think we're significantly undervalued. I think, and we're making sure that we demonstrate that, we reach out more to our clients and our investors on it. And I think I'm pretty confident that we're going to get there. But in the worst case scenario, if we can't get it there by March, we will have the opportunity to do it by September. And we have different mechanisms if we don't, reach it organically. There's other mechanisms to get there, but we are very focused, and we're very confident that the market will appreciate what we're doing, and we'll get to compliance.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the stock and all that, I think once again, as more people understand again, because the company, I think you went public through a SPAC, right? So there was always, anytime that happens, it's always like, or a lot of these smaller IPOs, they just, they're basically orphaned. They don't have any retail audience at the beginning, unless it's like a major, hyped up thing, but 90% of them, they have nothing. So they got to basically build it. And, which is what you've been doing. I mean, well, the company's been executing for the last number of years. And right now it's actually getting to the point at that, the inflection point, the thing that everybody's waiting for. I think we saw the first part of it in December, which is those renewals. I think it was very important. The market may have overlooked it, but I think as we see more and more of that type of, quality news flow in terms of, new contracts, renewals, then it becomes something tangible for investors. And then they realize, okay, this is that must-have platform. This must-have AI platform for these companies. And also the other catalyst, I think the huge catalyst is when you have this small to medium sized business application. So when you make it available for so the smaller companies out there, I think then I think also at that point you'll have a much more what's the word? I think more investors also will have come into contact with it, maybe from their day-to-day experience. Kerm, I think your camera just went out. Are you?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
So yeah, look, it's basically, all the, everything is moving forward. It's just a question of, I guess, people seeing that news flow now, and then obviously seeing that reflected in the numbers and everything else. But
So like I promised investors, I'm going to be more out and about. We're going to do more live stream sessions. We're going to have more news coming out, and hopefully, I think, like you said, the start of the year, this week, we had a lot of volume on our stock, and I think one day was like 65 million on Monday. So there's interest, and I think hopefully this interest will lead to more investors coming on board and getting us to the right levels that we should be at, right? So.
Okay, yeah, Ricardo's saying I have 40,000 shares at $1. Please get them back above $1 without a reverse split.
Ricardo, I'm a big supporter of you. Thank you for investing in us. I'm in the same boat as you. I have a lot of shares as well. So my goal is also to get us much beyond $1. So thank you.
Excellent. Okay, Carl. On that note, I think look, the idea is is we want to get people to understand the story. The more people understand the story, the better the stock is going to trade. Because I think again, the only reason the stock is at 35 cents and not like $2 is where kind of it should be based on comps in the space. People don't understand it. So the more they get the news and everything else. So with that said, when we'll have this type of Q&A, audience Q&A. Again, you're very transparent, happy to answer all questions, obviously. Right. So what's the next? What can investors expect in terms of news flow over the next couple of weeks? Like what kind of? I mean, you're not going to tell us the headlines, but
there's a lot of things in the hopper with us in terms of product, in terms of customers, in terms of potential partnerships. So there's a lot of interesting things coming down the pipeline. I think our 10K will be ready as well, so that'll be available for investors in the deadline is end of March, but will probably be a little bit sooner than that. So you're going to see that. I think that is also going to be a testament of our performance over the year and what we've done, what we've accomplished. I think that'll be good for investors to see that. But I think to your point, we're very much busy with product development and customer engagements. So as those things become milestones that we are confident about, and that we are, we're not going to just do press release for the sake of press release, but significant events as happening. I believe that we have a lot of great opportunities. So we're going to be communicating to the market what those opportunities are, and when significant milestones are hit in terms of performance or transaction or goals, we definitely will make that available to people, right?
Yeah, I mean, I concur that what you said. Like, we're only going to put out news releases if it's material, serious stuff. Because Carl, I've been trying to get you to do releases for the last month, and you say no, we want to have something material. So so basically, people can know that this is not, they're not going to see it's. If there's going to be a news release, I should say, when there's going to be a news release, it's going to be material. It's not just fluff. Okay. Okay, so beyond, again, zooming out from beyond this week's, what's happening this
Yep.
week, long
Yep.
term, again, the real value is created long term. I mean, the upside for any investors doesn't happen in a day. It happens over a period. It really does happen over a period of years. If I look back on stocks I've had, it takes a while. It really takes a while where you get that massive, the full effect. It takes a while. I mean, whether it's a 10x, 100x, or whatever it is. Look, we've had literally we've had stocks on this platform. I mean, this is even going back a number of years. Stocks they went from $1 to $800, right, or more. But it didn't happen in a week.
Yep.
It took a little while, right? So, and because one of those companies was Taser, now known as Axon. We've had others, similar things. But so people need to understand, like, there's a big picture, like, what's so with that, like. The last question I'm going to ask you, obviously if we don't have any other investor questions, is we do have a very good investor question, but I'll ask you this before I forget.
Yeah.
In terms of like the big picture, where could what's your vision for CXAI 2 to 3 years out? We're not talking about we're talking just the next 2 to 3 years. Where could this company be?
Yeah.
Assuming like everything starts clicking, you have the small to medium business stuff, you have the increased take up. There's a lot like where new products. What kind of company will you be in? What kind of I don't know if you can say what kind of. I mean, we're not saying it's going there, but what potentially what kind of revenues could you have?
Yeah, it's a great question. Look, I will make the first statement. Sky is building the operating system for the autonomous enterprise. I'll repeat it. Sky is building the operating system for the autonomous enterprise. And I think that, we believe that enterprise AI market is shifting from experimentation to execution, from pilots to platforms, from automation to autonomy. Sky is positioned at the center of that shift, right? Delivering agentic AI systems that produce measurable operational impact, real cost savings, and scalable enterprise value. So what we're seeing in the market, Jack, is a fundamental shift, right? People are moving from AI pilots to AI platforms, from experimentation to execution, from automation to autonomy. So we've built this agentic AI is built for that shift. Our systems just don't analyze data, they act on it. They detect inefficiencies, they predict outcomes, they orchestrate workflows, continuously optimizing operation across the enterprise. So for our customers, we've got some fundamental value, right? Lower cost, higher productivity, better reliability, better operational ROI. So we're really, we're not just building novelty AI, right? We're building the intelligence layer for the autonomous enterprise, right? And that's where the long-term enterprise value will be created. So I think people talk about these bubbles and this and that and others. At the end of the day, any company that's been successful in technology has been solving a real problem and has been creating real value for their end users, right? So I feel confident in the work the team is doing now because we're not building just for novelty. We're not just building, it's a cool little thing. Try it. It's a toy. No, it's not a toy. This is something that is going to be essential for the modern enterprise, right? So that's where my confidence comes in from that. And I'm a product leader, product guy. So for me, I've seen companies always succeed. My career has always been product led, right? And you should be confident that you've got a Silicon Valley company with great engineering talent here. I welcome investors to come to our offices in San Ramon. One of the things we do with our clients is when they have all the different discussions and also I said, okay, guys, I offer you, come to San Ramon, come to Silicon Valley, spend 4 hours with me. We had in December, Jack, while we were closing the end of the year, we had clients come from East Coast, from LA and others. And this said to me, Khurram, this is the best 4 hours we spent because we can have hundreds of calls, but when we sit in your room with your engineers and we just watch what they're doing and ask the questions and see it, we see the magic, right? So to me, that's what I would love investors. If you are really curious, I'm welcoming you to come to my office and see the product in motion so you'll be a believer, right? And I think that's what the belief I have is that the product will do the talking itself, right? I can make a lot of great speeches. I can make a lot of great, live streams, and I'll do that still. At the end of the day, the product does the talking, right? And so this is where our confidence is. We've been working on this for a while. It's not just happened yesterday. And to your point, nothing happens overnight, right? Everybody's an overnight success after a number of years of hard work, right? So there's a number of years of hard work we've done, and there's a couple of years of hard work for our investors who've been patient, and then they will see the light at the end of the tunnel, right? That's coming.
Yeah. One thing I want to ask, because you used this phrase or word autonomous enterprise, right? So
Yep.
for anybody, what exactly is an autonomous enterprise?
Look, when you think about a company, a company is really made by the people, right? But the challenge with the people is people have to deal with all these other things that get in their way, right? So there's friction, right? Autonomous enterprise is frictionless, right? It doesn't hold you back, it lets you go faster. Right now, I'm limited by because IT doesn't let me do this, or I've got to go schedule this through this system, and I got to go through. Well, if an agent does that for you autonomously, based on your direction, you're still the master, it makes your life easy. So frictionless, easy to use, and not holding you back, letting you go to the next level. That's what I feel in autonomous enterprises. Every CEO today, when you ask them, what's holding your company back? Oh, it's our people can't get to do all this stuff, right? So if we can make their people more productive and give them more time and more ability to automate their functions, they'll be more productive. So that's what I feel in autonomous enterprises.
Okay, we got two last questions. We're at 2:00 here. Last two. Ben is asking if CXAI could solve one unsolvable problem with AI today, what would it be?
Well, ask any AI system if they can simultaneously or sequentially do voice, text, and image, and with a prompt and get your solution done. Not possible today. You can look at what everybody has. They can do one thing really well. They can't do multiple. So with our solution, you can send an image. You can talk to it. You can send a text message. We can all do that simultaneously and get things done for you. So that would be one thing. But we're going to showcase some of these things, so it'll be very obvious what we're doing there. So.
Okay. Last question here. In the future, I don't know if you can answer this.
I can't answer it like that, but I think I've given directional insight into this. Look, we're super busy. We had our sales kickoff a couple of last week, actually, here in the Bay Area. We had all our team together. We're super excited. We're heads down, working on deals and making sure they get done. So I'm again, I can't give exact direction, but I can tell you that our existing customers are super happy, and they are recommending us in terms of these proposals. So as soon as new deals come on and we will be making sure that we keep everybody updated. But I think we've got a pretty good pipeline right now. So.
Okay, Khurram, thank you for the update, and I want to thank everybody for joining us today. We're going to be back. I don't know, Khurram, when can we do
a couple of weeks? We'll try to get back again. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, or next major news announcement, but it will be soon. And again, we'll have audience Q&A. So guys, if we didn't get to you next time, please get the questions next time. We'll happy to see you again. All right, Khurram, thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. We'll see you in the next one.
Thank you, Jack. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for the great questions. Talk to you next time. Bye.
Thanks again.